Hey everyone, good evening. I hope you're doing well and you're good wherever you are. I'm Joe Fizz, and this is Third Shift Thoughts. This episode is going to be a little bit different, as similar to a couple of the last ones. Kind of on a time crunch tonight, so we're going to keep it not necessarily like short and sweet and to the point, but it's definitely going to be a smaller episode than usual. I'm coming up. This is actually my last day before my final semester of college. Super excited. Don't know where it's going to take me as far as, the podcast goes, things like that. So these next couple episodes, over the course of the next couple of months, will be at least once a month, but kind of spaced out. Further updates, Graymore is coming back up. There's a new episode out, so if you listen to the Graymore podcast at all, it is something that is coming back. It's going to be an origins story, so we're going to go to some of the older characters and see how they came into fruition at the school, due to the fact that I'm actually writing as well a Graymore book. I'm on about the 11th or 12th chapter, but coming into the semester, I took some time off to kind of gather where I want the rest of the book to go, get prepared for the semester, and a couple other things, just some time for myself. Because as I've preached to you, I want to do unto myself, self-care, self-care, self-care. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Make sure that you're checking in on your friends and family during the holidays and post-holiday season. And most importantly, think deep, love deep, and above all, question everything. So that's really it for me. We're going to get into the podcast. So here we go. It's now Third Shift Thoughts with Joe Fizz. So, welcome back to Third Shift Thoughts with Joe Fizz. I'm Joe Fizz, as previously stated. DV's on a little bit of holiday, like I said, because I haven't had the chance to fix his voice yet, so that's where we're at today. Today's episode I want to talk about first is about critics. We hear about people who like to, I guess I don't want to say impose, but they like to say different things, this, that, and the other, about movies, video games, TV shows, music, anything and everything that you could possibly think of, there's a critic for. And something about that. Sorry, I had to sit down my guitar. There are certain things about this that we like to talk about. One of those things is that this person, has different life experiences, or maybe the same life experiences that we have. They may be tasked by somebody or just issuing their own opinion, and they're trying to, either from a professional side of it or just a amateur side of it, convey a thought about the piece of work and disseminate it to other individuals who may be feeling the same way. Now, something about this needs to be taken into consideration. As previously stated, these individuals are, they may have different experiences than you. This is something that we need to consider primarily because, for example, the recent topic that has been on everybody's mind is Star Wars. Now, I'm not going to spoil it for you. I personally loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Brought a new light into the saga. A couple different things that some people didn't like that I liked. To me, it ended on a note that I'm totally okay with. I could go decades and pass on without even having to worry about this section of the movies. Having finished this series, I'm totally okay with it. It's going to maybe turn people off the podcast right now. There's a lot of, hate about it and various other things. Critics have annihilated this movie, though, like to the point where I going into it was a little bit nervous. I was like, I don't know how I feel.
I'm Joe Fizz, and this is Third Shift Thoughts.
Going into this movie,
this episode's going to be a little bit different,
experiencing
similar to
this kind of scenario because
kind of on a
The Last Jedi, for example, had great reviews, but was mixed among a lot of the fan base.
Like short and
I thought it was a good movie too,
but it's definitely going to be.
I had a little bit of hesitations for it for a couple of reasons, those of which I won't spoil for those who may not
my
have
last day
seen
before.
it.
My final
Something about this, though, that
super
we
excited.
need to definitely consider
it's going to take
is that these critics, whether they're professionals or not, are getting paid to do this. Some of them, some of them are just maybe out there saying whatever they want to say. The point being is that
over the course
this
of
individual's points of view
once a month
about the movie, various things like that, are often influenced by updates, existential factors.
Graymore
that may or may not coincide with what we have experienced, and therefore may give a misconception of the movie
podcast at all,
or give something.
It is something that is
maybe contradictory to what we could potentially believe. But because we're so marred by these critics,
the older characters,
we can't fully
they came into fruition,
actualize
due to the
concept
I'm actually writing
of what the director was trying to portray. Now, this is not to say that some movies are just not bad. I mean, there are some movies that are just absolutely god awful. A perfect example of a movie like that is The Moving Mother with Jennifer Lawrence. I'm sorry if you're a J-Law fan. I'm a J-Law fan.
And a couple other
movies. But in this scenario, the movie was just absolutely terribly written.
To you,
really weird movie. Would not recommend it.
Self-care.
Maybe just to experience it to get like the kind of cultural reference. But beyond that, it's just
you're checking in on your friends and family
there
during the holidays and post.
But anyway, this movie had again mixed
importantly,
reviews by critics. This is something that
and
I kind of went into as like, I'll see it personally,
question everything,
then go from there.
It's really it for me.
Again, this is something that we need to take into consideration for our own lives too.
It's now
there are people within our circles or even within our workplaces or within our online communities, things like that, that are going to try and either tear us down for existential reasons that we can't control, or they're trying to build us up in a specific way. So how do we respond to critics? The first thing that I would say is not to be too calloused, input it, but this is kind of this weird metaphysical, I don't want to say Buddhist, but it's kind of metaphysical Zen form to it, is that we have to input the information and we have to just accept it for what it is. Now, this can vary based on a couple of things. It can vary on the fact that, maybe this person
thoughts with Joe Fizz. I'm Joe Fizz. As
maybe this person is trying to do us harm,
on a little
as I said, in some way, or maybe this person
haven't had the chance
has something else going on, and they're throwing
this
out there because they're just irritated.
Today.
Or maybe they're trying to be
Today's episode,
constructive. You have to take
first,
context clues into consideration
about critics,
and I think that's hard for some people.
About
it's definitely been hard for me growing up and coming into adulthood.
I don't want to say
I think that
they like to
in the beginning I hated
say
any kind of
things,
feedback
this, that, and the other
at all if it wasn't
movies,
positive.
Video games.
This is something that
TV
I have
shows,
developed while
music,
in my professional
anything and everything that
program.
You
just kind of have to accept it for what it is,
and something
and move on. You have to accept it. Sorry, I had to sit down my guitar. Again, this is kind of weird Zen practice. You have to accept it for what it is. You can't go too deep into it because if you look too deep, you're going to do what is called spiraling, which you're just going to keep thinking about it until you. It's like free falling from the sky. You're just going to keep thinking about opinion. You can't really dismiss it because if you just dismiss it outright, there could be a nugget of information gained.
Amateur side of it.
So you have to be emotionally and
the piece of work,
mentally mature enough to
other individuals
contextualize what they're trying to say.
Who may be feeling the same way.
Wrap it up
something about
for what it is.
Needs to be taken
and accept it and move on.
As previously
now, whether
stated,
this influences your artwork or your choice of going to see a movie,
they may have different
something like that.
It
varies.
That
varies on
primarily
say what it is you're doing.
Because
personally, I really believe in,
for example,
certain philosophies
the recent
like Jim
topic
Carrey
that has been on everybody's mind,
even
is
Bruce
Star
Springsteen,
Wars.
where
Now, not going to spoil it for you.
and
I
as the
personally
infamous
loved it.
SpongeBob SquarePants Squidward line goes, everybody's a critic. Everybody has an
saga,
opinion. Everybody's going to
like
like something or not like
some
it.
people didn't like that.
The
I
goal,
liked.
though, is if it's something that you're enjoying,
To me,
you need to accept it.
it
and
ended
then say,
on a
okay,
note
that's there.
that's
totally
their.
okay with.
I
thought
could
on
go
What is my
decades
thought on it?
and
Try not to let it
pass on
influence you.
without
Try
even
to
having
formulate
worry
your own
about
opinion
this section
without
of the
these
movie.
existential
Having finished
critics
this
coming
series,
in.
I'm totally okay with it. It's gonna
Other
maybe
than
turn
that,
people off the
you know,
podcast
just
right now.
If it's something like in your workplace,
there's a lot of hate
consider
about
the
it
source.
and various other.
If
things.
it's
Critics
peer,
have annihilated
I
this
would
movie,
say,
though, like to the point where
listen with a kind ear.
I going into it
and
was
then,
a little bit nervous. I was like,
maybe
I don't know how I feel.
Pick what certain things will
Going
either
into this
benefit
movie
you or not benefit
and
you
experiencing
for the future, especially if it's
this
negative,
kind
and
of
then move on with
scenario,
it.
because
It's
The Last
superior,
Jedi, for example,
then
had great reviews,
maybe taken into
but was mixed
consideration. And
among
again, there are
a lot of
existential
the fan
factors
base.
that come into.
I thought it was a good movie
the
too.
scenario.
I had a little bit
However,
of hesitations for it for
it
a
needs
couple
to be
reasons,
considered,
those of
and
which I won't spoil for those
essentially
who may
to
not
move
have
on and to
seen it.
be not necessarily the
Something
bigger
about this,
person,
though,
but
that
to
we
fully
need to
actualize
definitely
your
consider
potential or the
is that
potential
these critics,
of the movie.
whether they're professionals
You need to just
or
accept
not,
it for what it is.
are getting paid to do this. Some
And
of them,
that is
some of them are
personally
just
something
maybe out
that
there saying whatever
I
they
felt
wanna
when
say.
going to see
The
The
point
Rise of
being is,
Skywalker.
though, is
I
that
heard a lot of negative
this
reviews,
individual's
both
points of
from fans
view
and critics
about
alike.
the movie, various things like that, are
For me
often
personally,
influenced
though,
by
I took that
existential
in
factors
and I said, okay,
that may or
it
may
is what
not
it is.
coincide with what we
these
have
people,
experienced, and therefore may give
there are existential factors. They
misconception of the
haven't liked this
movie,
trilogy so far,
or give something
they're not going to like the end.
that may be contradictory
These critics
to what we could
are
potentially
really
believe,
praising
but because
Rise
we're so
or The Last
marred by
Jedi
these
because of
critics,
certain plot twists.
we can't fully
They didn't really like this because this was made more,
actualize the concept,
at least in my view, to
of what the
an
director
homage
was
to
trying
fans.
to portray.
It just really
now,
varies.
this is not to say that some
Varies,
movies are
and
just not
the best
bad.
thing that I
There's
learned
some
to do
movies
is
that are
just kind of accept
absolutely
it
god-awful.
and
A
take it
perfect
for what it
example of
is,
a movie like
and
that is the
leave
movie
behind
Mother with Jennifer
what you
Lawrence.
can, because you don't want to get back,
if
weighed
you're
down
a
by
J-Law
it.
fan.
You just
I'm
want
a
to
J-Law
accept it
fan
for what it
in
is.
certain movies,
and move on.
But in this scenario, the movie
So
was just absolutely
that's
terrible.
part one. Is critics.
Really weird movie.
The next part is going to be kind of like
maybe just to experience it
metaphysically
to get
again.
like the kind of
We're
cultural
going to have like a
reference.
little mini,
But
music
beyond that,
interlude.
it's just
so.
it's just not
Here we go.
there. But anyway, this movie had again mixed reviews by critics. This is something that I kind of went to as like, oh, I'll see it personally, then go from there. So again, this is something that we need to take into consideration for our own lives too. There are people within our circles, or even within our workplaces, or within our online communities, things like that are going to try and either tear us down for existential reasons that we can't control, or they're trying to build us up in a specific way. So how do we respond to critics? The first thing that I would say is not to be too callous. Input it, but this is kind of this weird metaphysical, I don't want to say Buddhist, but it's kind of metaphysical Zen form to it, is that we have to input the information and we have to just accept it for what it is. Now, this can vary based on a couple of things. It can vary on the fact that, maybe this person is trying to do us harm because it's in some way. Maybe this person has something else going on and they're throwing us out there because they're just irritated. Maybe they're trying to be constructive. We have to take context into consideration. And I think that's hard for some people. It's definitely been hard for me growing up and coming into adulthood. I think that in the beginning, I hated any kind of feedback at all if it wasn't positive. This is something that I have developed while in my professional program. You just kind of have to accept it for what it is and move on. You have to accept it. It's this kind of weird Zen practice. You have to accept it for what it is. You can't go too deep into it, because if you look too deep, you're going to do what's called spiraling. And you're just going to keep thinking about it until it's like free falling from the sky. You're just going to keep thinking. You can't really dismiss it because you just dismiss it outright. There could be a nugget of information gained. So you have to be emotionally and mentally mature enough to contextualize what like something or not like it. So
the goal, tried a little bit of...
If it's something that you're enjoying,
tried a little bit of funk there.
And then say, okay, that's their
the next
thought on it.
metaphysical topic.
Try not to let it influence you. Try to formulate your own opinion without these existential critics coming in.
I really think,
other than that, just
that
if it's something like
this
in your workplace,
I kind of want to incorporate
consider the source.
some aspects.
If it's up here, I would say
I don't even want to say like supernatural.
And then, maybe
I think there's a really interesting
concept
when it comes down to like brain function
for the future,
and this is
if it's negative,
something I was thinking about last night as I was walking from my
superior,
job.
Then
I think that
maybe taken into consideration.
It's fascinating to think that
factors that come
your brain at the basic
scenario.
input level,
however,
is composed of these electric currents and energy
essentially
that
to move
gets
on
sent up this
the bigger person,
tiny little cord through your spine and gets disseminated throughout your system.
You need to just
via your nervous system and other systems in your body. And then
I felt
these systems
the Rise of
composed
Skywalker.
of
I heard a lot of
this
negative reviews,
energy that
from fans and critics alike.
whether of origins
personally though
debated
I took that in and I said,
is composed of
electricity.
So you yourself are electricity.
Essential factors. They
and the things that you see
so far,
and around you and this energy and
these critics
moving particles
were really
and
praising
these comprise some of them static particles. Others moving super fast beyond our
They
visual.
didn't really like this because this
These things are just a part of
at least
part
in
of
my
it.
view to
an
homage to fans.
One of the things that I find really fascinating
it
is
really varies.
when I go to see a rock
and
show.
The best thing that
and
I've learned to do is just kind of accept
the sounds come over.
and take it for
this
what
is
it
a transfer of energy
and
vibrated
leave
at
behind what you can. Because you don't want to get back
speeds
like,
that
weighed
I
down by
can't
it.
even imagine.
You just
Then
wanna
you
accept
feel
it for
the
what it
energy
is.
of the
Move
crowd.
on.
And the energy of the crowd
So,
starts to
That's
build.
part one.
Their anticipation based on
the next part is gonna be kinda
their
like metaphysical
own
again.
pulsations of
We're
electricity
gonna
is
have, like, a
causing
little
them to
mini
get really
music interlude.
excited.
So
So as they get
we go.
excited, they build up and you feel the tension. And then the first note hits and they blast into it and you're just blown away at the fact that everyone is jumping and screaming. The energy builds up in the drum kit, the transfer of sound is causing these pulsations and energies within your body to pick up your heart rate. It's causing them to release chemicals throughout the brain that are causing you yourself to feel these pulsations throughout your system. These electric currents and these transfers of energy, the saying is always that matter cannot be created or destroyed. We could get really metaphysical here and think about, is this energy always just stored in your body to a certain point and then is released? Or is it permeable throughout your skin? The energy can be transferred, so it can't be created or destroyed though. So say for example, the pulsations in the ground. This is metaphysical. I know this is probably not true. Most likely 95% not true. But so say for example, the energy stored within the guitar strings, as they are released when the person is picking, send it out through the airwaves. It connects with you. And so this transfer of energy is now in you, and it's bottling up, and it's vibrating and causing you to feel your own pulsations, and then therefore you're disseminating energy out into the system being the rock concert. So as your energy is pinging off of everybody else's energy is pinging off of you. I've been in shows where there have been mosh pits, which is basically a huge gathering of people that push and shove each other like nobody's business. So they're transferring energy to each other within the touch. This is why in physics, when you're drawing Newton diagrams and person A is pushing with 5 newtons of force, a box that has 10 newtons of force, therefore 15 newtons of force are going in the direction of the person that is pushing. So you're transferring this energy throughout the system of individuals, and it all comes from stored energy, whether it's in you, an instrument, an object, something, other individuals. And it's fascinating to think about, but as this energy happens and is, it's all coming through your synapses, all through this electric current within you, going up and down you.
spinal column, sending it throughout your body, and then sending your energy out to everybody else. I just think it's fascinating. Another example is food. Food, you intake food to give you energy. The energy from within the food is transferred into you as you digest it. And therefore, as you disseminate it throughout your body, it's causing this energy to be transferred.
A little bit of funk
I guess my
there.
theory is,
So, the next
it's
metaphysical topic.
in theory, it is out there. Some people would kind of laugh at that and say, okay, well, that's just nature. But I want you to picture
really
this.
think-
Okay. When I'm walking outside and I'm looking at
For
stars,
this one, I kind of want to incorporate
I'm looking at the
some
moon.
aspects
I'm,
of-
seeing people walk about.
I don't even want to say like
I'm looking at
supernatural.
light.
I think
that has traveled
there's
millions,
a really
upon
interesting
millions
concept
of miles.
but
that light
comes
is
down
still
to, like,
energy.
brain function.
And this is I'm seeing this
something
energy.
I was thinking about last
and
night as I
the
was
warm
walking,
feeling, and this
from
is
my
kind of
job.
maybe the romantic in me.
I think
but
that
the warm feeling I'm
it's
getting
fascinating
in my chest
to think
me
that your brain at
isn't only
the
from
basic input
the
level
memories is
and the
composed
serotonin
of these
and
electric currents.
the other
and
things that
energy
I associate with
that
looking at the moon and
gets
the
sent
stars
up
and
this
the nostalgia to
tiny
it.
little
But I like to
cord
think
through your spine and gets
in
disseminated
some weird
throughout your
fascination
system. That this
via
energy,
your nervous system
there's
other
energy
systems
coming from
in your
those
body.
stars, and then
connecting to
these systems,
my soul,
composed of
my energy, the thing
this
that I
energy
in my spinal
that-
column, and I
whether
I like the
the
of lyric.
origins,
We contain
debated
multitudes, or I
is
contain multitudes.
composed of electricity.
I think that
so you yourself are electricity.
those multitudes
and the things that you see and around
might
you
just
and this
come
energy
from
and these
the stars.
moving particles, and these comprise some of them static
It certainly
particles.
is fascinating
Others moving
to
super
think
fast
about.
beyond our visual.
So
these things are just a part.
I'll try to
of
come
it,
up with
a
better
part of
topics
it.
next time. I just always found that to be really, really
One
cool.
of the things that I find really fascinating.
So hopefully you
is
did too.
when I
Maybe
go
that'll
to see
give
a
you
rock
something
show,
to think about as you walk
and
around, shake hands with
the
somebody.
sounds come
interact
over.
with your
You know,
car.
this is a transfer of energy vibrated at. Interact with somebody else. Maybe even
Speeds
your own
that
looking
I
at the
can't
stars
even
or looking
imagine.
at. And then you feel
The
the
waves of the
energy
ocean.
of the
Maybe that's
crowd.
why.
And the
When
energy
you
of the
stand in the
crowd
ocean,
starts
for
to
some
build.
people, you feel this
their
euphoria.
anticipation based on
Not only because of the
their
serotonin, but maybe
own
because of the
pulsations
transfer of
electricity
energy
is
from
causing them to get really
a
excited.
vastness.
So as they get excited,
seems
they
contained
build up, and you
by
feel
land,
the
when
tension.
really land is
and then
contained
the
by
first
water.
note hits, and they blast into it, and you're just
into the pores of your skin.
blown away at the fact
into
that
the very
everyone's
cells of
jumping
your
and
being.
screaming. The energy builds up in the drum kit,
Yeah,
the transfer
maybe
of
that's
sound.
For you, maybe
It's
it's not.
causing these
I don't know,
pulsations
but-
and energies
all right,
within
so
your body.
I think we're
pick
gonna
up
call
your
it for
heart
this
rate.
week.
It's causing them to
That concludes this week.
release chemicals throughout the brain
Fictive
that are
thoughts.
causing
I'm Joe Fizz.
you yourself.
We will see you in
to
February. Hopefully with a
feel
better,
these
a
pulsations
better topic
throughout
that
your system. These
I
electric
thought
currents
out.
and these transfers of energy.
Other than
The
that,
saying is always that matter
love
cannot
deep.
be created or destroyed. We
think
could get
hard
really
and
metaphysical
be
here.
kind. I had to
and
think of my
about,
own slogan for a second.
Is this energy always just
love
stored
big,
in your body
think deep,
to a certain
and be
point and
kind.
then is released?
And
Or is it
you very, very
permeable
soon.
throughout your skin? Energy can be transferred, so it can't be created or destroyed, though. So say, for example, the pulsations in the ground. This is metaphysical. I know this is probably not true. Most likely 95% not true. But so say, for example, the energy stored within the guitar strings, as they are released when the person is picking, send it out through the airwaves. It connects with you. And so this transfer of energy is now in you, and it's bottling up, and it's vibrating and causing you to feel your own pulsations. And then therefore you're disseminating energy out into the system being the rock concert. So as your energy is pinging off of everybody else's energy is pinging off of you. Now, I've been in shows where there have been mosh pits, which is basically a huge gathering of people that push and shove each other like nobody's business. So they're transferring energy to each other within the touch. This is why in physics, when you're drawing Newton diagrams and person A is pushing with 5 newtons of force, a box that has 10 newtons of force, therefore 15 newtons of force are going in the direction of the person that is pushing. So you're transferring this energy throughout the system of individuals, and it all comes from
stored energy, whether it's in you, an instrument, an object, something, other individuals. And it's fascinating to think about, but as this energy happens and is, it's all coming through your synapses, all through this electric current within you, going up and down your spinal column, sending it throughout your body, and then sending your energy out to everybody else. I just think it's fascinating. Another example is food. Food, you intake food to give you energy. The energy from within the food is transferred into you as you digest it. And therefore, as you disseminate it throughout your body, it's causing this energy to be transferred. So I guess my theory is, it's in theory it is out there. Some people would kind of laugh at that and say, okay, well, that's just nature. But I want you to picture this, okay? When I'm walking outside and I'm looking at stars, I'm looking at the moon, I'm, seeing people walk about, I'm looking at light that has traveled millions upon millions of miles, but that light is still energy. I'm seeing this energy and the warm feeling, and this is kind of maybe the romantic in me, but the warm feeling I'm getting in my chest, to me, isn't only from the memories and the serotonin and the other things that I associate with looking at the moon and the stars and the nostalgia to it. But I like to think, in some weird fascination, that this energy, there's energy coming from those stars and connecting to my soul, my energy, the thing that I am my spinal column. And I like the lyric, we contain multitudes, or I contain multitudes. I think that those multitudes might just come from the stars. It certainly is fascinating to think about. So I'll try to come up with better topics next time. I just always found that to be really, really cool. So hopefully you did too. Maybe that'll give you something to think about as you walk around, shake hands with somebody, interact with your car, interact with somebody else, maybe even your own, looking at the stars or looking at the waves of the ocean. Maybe that's why when you stand in the ocean, for some people, you feel this euphoria. Not only because of the serotonin, but maybe because of the transfer of energy from a vastness that seems contained by land, when really land is contained by water, into the pores of your skin and into the very cells of your being. I don't know. Maybe that's for you. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But all right. So I think we're going to call it for this week. That concludes this week's Third Shift Thoughts. I'm Joe Fizz. We will see you in February, hopefully with a better topic that I've thought out. Other than that, love deep, think hard, and be kind. I had to think of my own slogan for a second. Love big, think deep, and be kind. And we will see you very, very soon.